Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Faisal. I'm Judge. I'm the founder of No, and Jazakallah khair for joining me. First of all, Happy New Year. You could have been doing anything on the first day of the year, and I'm honoured that you're choosing to spend it here. Inshallah, we've got a very action-packed workshop planned. I appreciate the slight miscalculation with the timings. So thank you for your patience. So we're gonna start in a minute or so. So what I'll do is, just to make it easier, so I'm not distracting you, I'll take the mic off, and let's get started. Bismillah. So before we begin, this is the Pioneers of Purpose workshop. I need something from you. The first thing I need is presence. So no one on their phones or anything like that. It's going to be quite an engaging session, inshallah. And so, obviously, we're in the age of we could have 1,000,001 distractions and things. If you can stay until the end, it's going to last maybe about an hour, just over an hour. The last 15 minutes is where all of this stuff comes together. So you'll see how it all works and how it's relevant to your life. I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. I want a lot of engagement in the chat. Ashur's here. He's going to be kind of monitoring the chat. And be honest, this is the reason we're all here together is because we're here to grow. We're here for accountability. We're here for to make this year, inshallah, the best year ever. And so that's the other thing. And if you can have with you a pen and a paper and take notes. If there's anything that resonates, especially for you where you are in your journey, write it down. So if it's is that a deal? So if that is, press yes in the chat, inshallah. Okay, perfect. I can see a few yeses. Awesome. No. All right. Okay. Well, that in mind, then let's begin. I'm going to start off with this quote. One way to remember who you are is to remember who your heroes are. So this is a question I want to ask you guys now. Who are your heroes? So let's assume we're all going to say the Prophet ﷺ, and we're all going to say our parents, either a parent or a grandparent or a family member. Beyond that, who gives you inspiration when you're looking for it? So let's take 30 seconds or a minute and just type that in the chat now. Any? Habib, that's a very good example. Very good. Yeah. I think he's an example, role model for a lot of people, actually, especially because how he carries himself and how much he's achieved in the modern day without compromising. That's a very good example. Salahuddin Ayyubi, yeah, amazing, very good example, mashallah. Again, so when you study Islamic history, you realize so much of this, how much of it is hidden from us or not really taught to us. But when you realize it really elevates you, because you realize, wow, subhanAllah, there's so much they've so much for us to learn. Wow, Dr. Tariq, yeah, Dr. Tariq. I actually met Dr. Tariq earlier this year in Malaysia. I think I had a meeting with him about 9 months ago, and I think when I had a meeting with him, I was impressed because that was online. But then when I met him in person and saw how he carried himself, it was another level, because you realize, wow, he's achieved so much, written so many books, and yet he's very humble. He's always eager to learn. He was at the first in the row to give people credit. Much amazing. Khalid bin Walid, okay, amazing. Yeah, I think that's a really Nelson Mandela. I think it doesn't have to be Muslim, right? So Nelson Mandela has definitely inspired an entire generation of not just South Africans, but just people in general, because of how much struggle he went through. Khadija, mashallah. Yeah, amazing. So what's really interesting about all of these is that your answer actually reveals something. I think Soraya, you said that you're struggling to be a grateful wife. And I think the reason why we resonate with some of these heroes or role models is because they represent something that we value, or something that we aspire to. Something that you might recognize as either this currently missing within us, or it's actually possible within us, and they're further ahead. Your heroes essentially are a mirror because they show you who you're trying to become. So what I've learned about heroes is that it either speaks to a seed within inside you, that you've got that thing in a lesser form. It either speaks to your future potential, that okay, this is actually what's possible, or there's something that you need to learn from them for whatever you're here to do. But this is a something. And what's interesting about heroes is that they change over time. Your heroes at 5 years old and 15 years old and 25 years old might all be different. And they speak, and in a way, if you look back at your life, it's almost like going back into a bit of a time warp. That, oh, actually, yeah, I remember when I was this age, this person I really looked up to because, that at that time I really enjoyed. When I was 11, 12, a lot of my heroes were writers because I love reading. And then I got into my 20s and got into business and leadership. Then it changed. So that's another thing that's another. So when you look back at your heroes over time, you can see how you're evolving too. So here's a little bit of a run through my heroes. Age 6-year-old, I was really into like sort of cartoons and stuff, as you are. And there's two cartoons. One was called He-Man, which is like the strongest man in the universe, and he was overcome, the evil Skeletor, which is his enemy. And then we had a Thundercats. So it's also a very similar kind of concept of basically good defeating evil, right? I also used to like wrestling, so I used to like Bret the Hitman Hart. He was very a good guy. Again, back then wrestling was very good versus bad, and Bret Hart was the good guy who always played fair and did justice and stuff. Got a little bit older, then I got really into like sort of sports and things like that. So I was really a big Newcastle fan. So I was really into Alan Shearer because he was the best striker in the Premier League. I was a left-hand cricketer, a left-hand batsman. I was the only left-hander in my team, and so Brian Lara was someone I really really liked. I remember reading his book when I was younger, and he scored all those world records and things like that. As I said, I used to love reading, and Roald Dahl was my favorite author, and he really inspired. Oh my god! Like, I really want to be a writer when I grow up. I want to be in. And alhamdulillah, I actually, to this day, I've written a lot, and my writing style has always tried to, have that energy in it that Roald Dahl had in his words. And then Michael Jackson also showed that what greatness kind of can look like. Got a bit older, and then it was more about that rebellious streak. But truth telling.
Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me, bro. So, people are saying that they can't hear the audio,
They
and
can't. Okay.
yeah, and some of them live in UAE, and um, it's hard. They can't watch the video or the audio, so that's a problem.
Oh
I
no.
think they
Okay.
can. Yeah, I think they can hear me, but they can't hear you. So
Okay. Can everyone give me a 1 if you can hear me, and a 2 if you can't hear me? Okay. There's lots of ones there. Okay. Great. Okay. So I can see all 1 so far. What about can you give me a 3 if you can see the video, and a 4 if you can't? Okay. So one thing you might want to try, Suraya, is if you want to log off and log back on again. I know the standard advice, but if you just try that, that could work. So Holo, you could hear Muhammad, but can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Let me see. Should I change? I've changed my mic now, so this is my laptop mic. Is that better? 1 if that's better, 2 if that's worse. You can hear. All right. So I'll leave this mic on for now, and then Usher, you just let me know if I need to change anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay. Awesome. So I was saying, so in my sort of teenage years, truth telling became something that was a pattern I noticed. Even though, like, obviously, there's loads of rappers out there, but the rappers I were drawn to had that more sort of conscious kind of style. And this is also the time I first read Malcolm X's autobiography, and so that was something that had a massive impact on me at that age. As I got into my 20s, again, leadership started being more and more important. So Imran Khan style of leadership. Obviously Muhammad Ali was someone who was inspiration throughout life, but I studied him a lot more in my kind of 20s and took a lot of inspiration from him. Also, Dave Chappelle, again, that he had that big issue where he had to he left his $50 million show for the principle. So again, standing up for truth, even against principles, was quite an important thing. Then as I got into my 30s, I realized that it's not just about. I had that spiritual awakening, and I was searching more for what does it look like to combine these two roles. So not just having success, but having the kind of spiritual alignment as well. I realized that I stopped chasing people who were just great alone. I started chasing people who are aligned. So this is a quite interesting point, because it's not just about your heroes, it's also about who are not your heroes, right? So I realized I admired greatness, but not just greatness alone. So for example, Michael Jordan, everyone would say he's great. Tiger Woods, people would say he's great. Lionel Messi, Floyd Mayweather, right? So all of these guys are greats, but they've never ever been my heroes in that sense. I can admire them, I can rate them, but they're not someone I look up to. And I realized the reason they weren't my heroes is because they didn't actually stand for anything beyond their own success. They didn't have a mission. All my heroes stood for truth. They showcased excellence or greatness in some way, and they had a purpose. So I'm going to ask you another question now. Who do you admire because they were on a mission? So someone who seemed to know exactly why they were here. So not just inspiration generally, but because they were clear and focused about what they're here to do. And can you just maybe type it in chat? So someone who had clarity and conviction and certainty. So can you define alignment? Yeah. So alignment. What I mean by alignment is, the way I describe it is having perfect integrity between who you are and what you're here to do. So you're not conflicted. So you're not one person at work or one person at home. You're completely authentic and your true self. That's what I mean by alignment. Okay, so that's Dr. Imtiaz Sulaiman. I've not actually heard of him, so I'm going to definitely look him up. I'm going to write that down. Dr. Imtiaz Sulaiman. Very good. Anyone else that comes to mind? So a lot of people. Oh yeah, amazing example. Dr. Sulaiman, absolutely, a very good example. Some people might say Edie from Edie Foundation. He was very clear about his mission. He was very until the very end. If your answers change between the first one and the second one, the first answer will reveal sort of what you want. So a lot, you might want success or achievement or greatness, or even it might show some of your values, so truth telling or justice or whatever. But the second answer will reveal direction and purpose and things like that. And you often don't admire that mission in someone unless part of you is craving it. So with that in mind, let's just ask the big bold question: what is our purpose? What is our mission? We already know the answer, right? It's already in the Quran. I've not created mankind except to worship me. So you ask 100 Muslims and 90% of people will know that answer, and that's going to be the answer they give. So it's been revealed. We know our purpose. We have knowledge about that. But the question is if we know our purpose, why aren't we living it? Why aren't we living it? So I want you to do a quick gut check now. How aligned are you between what you do now and what you feel is your true purpose? So one is that no, I'm not aligned at all. A 10 is that I'm fully aligned with my purpose. I'm living it every single day. Let's see what sort of numbers come in. Okay, 5, that's good. 7, alhamdulillah, that's good. Okay. Okay, good. So a lot of numbers coming through there, mashallah. Very good. All right, so I've got another question for you, similar. How much of your potential do you feel you're currently living? So 10 is that I'm fully living my potential, and 1 is that no, I'm not there at all. Oh, I've got 9 here. Very good. Okay, 2s and 3. Okay. Okay, sure. I mean, if anyone who's got scoring 1s and 2s, at least that shows that there's plenty of scope for improvement, right? So, alhamdulillah, good stuff. Okay, good. So, I think the real question, what this reveals, is that I'm sure everyone here knew that our purpose here is to worship Allah, but the fact that we've got scores like 3s and 4s and 6s and 7s shows that there's maybe a gap or a deficiency here with how do we worship Allah? How do you worship Allah with your unique life, with your specific skills on a day-to-day basis? And I think this is what this reveals, is that we know what we're here for, but we don't actually know how to actualize it and live by it day by day. Now, I can go into full-on, section on how this has happened to us and what colonialism has done and how they've, secularized things. That's not for today. But here's some data. So over the last year or so, I've surveyed nearly 3,500 Muslims across 100 countries. And so this is the data sort of backs this up. 58% actually said they've got clarity about their purpose. So, but then only 17% said they're actually living it day by day. So that's a 41% drop between knowing and actually doing. So that gap is really the work that I do. So over the past 5 years, this is exactly what I've been searching for, the answers to this question. What is our true purpose, first of all, and how do we live by it? So over the last 5 years, I've read hundreds of books, biographies, attended tons of workshops, courses. And what I realized was this, that look, Islam has got amazing resources from a theology perspective. So there's no shortage of knowledge from an Islamic perspective. But the West had lots and lots of frameworks and systems and practical models and so. But neither of them were that harmonious with the other, right? So what I realized is that we need to develop and create something that is practical and executable, but that's grounded in our faith. And the reason for this workshop, for these heroes, for these guides, is that I found a lot of the answers in these heroes. So, quick overview about myself. I'm 41. I'm based in the UK, and my life has essentially been in 3 phases. So, in my 20s, I always call that my kind of the corporate slave days. I graduated from law school. I was a corporate, I worked in the corporate world, a blue chip company, in procurement, in project management. I worked as an analyst for a while. And I was what I call it khali, but I was empty and unhappy, right? And I quit just before I turned 30. My 30s was my entrepreneurship kind of phase. I initially started out with Amazon and e-commerce. Then I started doing my own products, smart home tech products, where we launched that, into retail and things. Then I launched a marketing agency, had a brand consultancy for a while, and then I kind of pivoted mostly and focused on education and training companies. That's kind of where I've settled and my kind of focus and niches. But one of the things that has been true for the last, like I said, 10 years is that I've been a purpose seeker. I've been researching purpose for 10 years. I've written 250 articles and essays on this. And I've spent the last 4 years putting together and building a solution for Muslims who are seeking purpose. What I do today, I'm a founder at No, I'm a co-founder at Muslim CEO, and I've just written my first book. So that's called Khalifa, Remembering Human Purpose in the Age of AI. Inshallah, I should be launching the next few months or so. So with that in mind, by the end of tonight, what you're going to walk away knowing, you're going to know the 5 stages of knowing your purpose to living it. So which stage you're stuck at right now, Which pioneer is your guide for 2026 and exactly what to do next? So let's begin. So we're going to meet these 5 guides today: Malcolm X, Allama Iqbal, Rumi, Muhammad Ali, and Imam al-Ghazali. And I'm not going to tell you what connects them yet. I'm just going to let them speak. And I want you to notice for yourself which one hits you the hardest, because that's a clue. Okay, let's begin. So let's start with Malcolm X. So this is so he represents the ultimate transformation story. And so he, to me, is the pioneer of transformation. What does it mean to discover and fulfill your potential, no matter where you start, no matter how broken you are, no matter how downtrodden you are, you can always rise to the very top. So this is where he started. So he's Malcolm Little, and there's a lot of tragedy in his childhood. There's a lot of racism, obviously, at that time in America. His house was firebombed by the KKK. His father, who was a preacher, who murdered when he was 6. And his mother was institutionalized shortly after, went into mental hospital. And then he and his siblings were all separated and went into foster homes and all sorts. And when he was at school, he was always bright and intelligent. But the teachers, he said, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And the teacher said, "No, you can't. That's not realistic. You cannot become that." So what did he do? He got discouraged, and he dropped out of school. He moved to Boston, then to Harlem, and he took on the nickname Detroit Red. And he basically did all the bad things that you can imagine, you know, on a much worse scale. He was a pimp, he was a drug dealer, burglar, hustler, con artist, you name it. And then he hit rock bottom. At age 20, he got the whole life ahead of him. He was arrested for burglary and he sentenced to 10 years in prison. So by every measure, he already had very little hope. What hope will he have after he's a convict? That's what happened. But then in prison, what happened? He started reading voraciously. He copied that entire dictionary out by hand. Basically, he read so much that he actually strained his eyes because of he read even just with the tiny light in the corridor. To the extent that's why he needed glasses after that. But through this constant reading, he discovered new ideas, new possibilities, and a new identity. And he developed the fortitude to fight and focus on what was most important. Why did he do that? Why did he read so much? Because he met with some followers of Elijah Muhammad, and that they showed him a new path, and it activated something with him that was going to be his mission. And so the reading wasn't for his own personal sake. It wasn't, oh yeah, I want to become the best that can be. No, it was, no, I need to read for this mission that I'm about to take. And so that was one form of transformation for him. And what happened after prison? He completely got activated. He became a national spokesman. He became the face of Nation of Islam. He built mosques all over America. He had a mass appeal. So they were frightened of him. He represented that fiery, angry black man. But thousands still came to hear him speak. He would electrify audiences. He would get called onto radio shows and TV shows. He was undefeated in debate. Because why? Because his mission was all. He said, my mission is this: to tell the white man the truth to his face. Everything that he'd been through, he remembered his past. Oh, this is what they did to my dad. This is what they did to my house. My mum mental because of. So he had all of that raw emotion and energy, and he just channeled it and focused that this is what I need to do. And imagine if he hadn't had any of that. Imagine he had no real cause, or he had a stable upbringing. Like, would he have burned so bright? That's the question. But that wasn't the end of his transformation. What happened then? Then he had his own other trials and tribulations, even within the Nation of Islam, and jealousy ensued, and eventually he got kicked out. But then what happened? He didn't stop growing. He said, "Okay, right, I'm going to now go to Hajj," and that's where his old identity died, and his new identity came. Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. He realized, like, even though he had done so much work for the mission, he was still humble enough to think, okay, you know what, this is actually, I was slightly off on the wrong path. This is what it is. So he noticed out there that everyone was speaking, was participating in the same ritual, unity and brotherhood. And he said that I realized that everyone snored in the same language. So his transformation for him wasn't a one-time event; it was his way of being. So he evolved again and again and again. And so a lot of people would say that if I asked you, did Malcolm X fulfill his potential? Now they'll probably say, no, he didn't, because he died at 40. He had so much more to give. Absolutely, I completely agree with that. But for how much he lived, he definitely fulfilled the potential for his life, or for the amount of life that he had. And so the main lesson to take from Malcolm X is that he didn't just transform; he was set on fire by a cause. Right? The moment he found something worth fighting for, he became unstoppable. And so that's why some of you might feel, oh God, 2025 was a difficult year. It was, I went through this trauma, this difficulty, this challenge, but the power rock bottom, once, this is a Malcolm X quote, once he's motivated, no one can change more completely than the man who has been at the bottom. He's evidence of that. Your adversity is not the end. Your past struggle is a seed of your future purpose. So again, there's another quote. There's no better lesson than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lessons on how to improve your performance next time. A lot of people discount themselves because this is what I've been through, or this is, how can I do it? But your past does not equal your future, right? No matter what you've gone through, where you start doesn't dictate where you finish. Like, who would have ever thought the lowest of the low, street hustler, con artist would become who he became? Nobody would have ever expected that. But this is what's possible. And so what that means is that there's no excuses. Transformation is possible for all of us. You're either free or you're not free. It's very clear. It's a very clear choice to make. So this is a question now I want to ask you, or Malcolm X wants to ask you. So what's been holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be? So think about that and maybe write it as one word. And if you don't want to write it in the chat, you can write it on your piece of paper and stuff. But I just want to know, so what past are you letting define your future? What reinvention for yourself have you been postponing, or what version of yourself have you been afraid to become? I'll give it a few seconds. Good. Very good. Yeah. Fear, safety net, security, skills. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah. Overthinking for sure. Yeah. Childhood patterns. Yeah, it's a massive one. Massive one. And these things often stick to us, and they hold us back majorly. Okay. Fear of success. It's interesting. Fear of success. Is such a common one. And actually, I think I read it's called the Jonah complex, named after Yunus, Jonah. That obviously he ran away from his mission, and a lot of people, because they fear, they're so used to playing small that they don't, they almost sabotage themselves before they get too successful. And what you realize is that you're not doing justice to what Allah put inside you and the mission and all of these things. Failure, okay, lack of confidence in myself. So on, okay. So this is amazing. This is really, really good that you're identifying it. And if you look at Malcolm X's example, failure, yes, he failed. Did he have fear? Well, obviously he was in prison, and anything could have happened to him. He had childhood patterns. He would have had major childhood patterns. Skills gap. Well, he wasn't qualified. He had nothing. He had no safety net, no security. So I mean, all these things can be overcome. And so I think this is the question I want to ask you for 2026: is that from what you've seen from Malcolm X and the things that you've mentioned, do you believe that transformation is possible for you? Yes or no? Perfect. Alhamdulillah. Okay, excellent. Very good. All right, awesome. So that is good. So from transformation to self-discovery. So what Malcolm X has shown us that transformation absolutely is possible, right? But where does that transformation come from? Like, do we need to get some sort of coach, or where does it come from? But what that next pioneer is going to tell us is that the light that you're seeking is actually already within you. Let's go into it. So Allama Iqbal. So he lived from 1877 to 1938. So now let me give you some context as to Allama Iqbal and his world that he grew up in. So he lived in British India. It had been completely and totally colonized around the turn of the 20th century, and Muslims had completely lost their confidence. So they're both mentally and physically completely colonized. The land was owned by the Brits, so they took all the resources, took all the autonomy away. And the deeper wound that he saw around everyone, they had a inferiority complex. They kept looking to the West for all the answers, for validation, for identity. That might sound familiar, right? There was imitation versus innovation, right? So he realized that, hang on, from what I learned about Islam and my own studies, Islam is a culture of innovation, but yet we're imitating. He realized you're living in a culture that stopped creating and start copying and forgetting who they once were, right? He actually said that his entire work, everything that he did, was based on one ayah of the Quran. The ayah of the Quran saying that, do not be like those who forgot Allah. He made them forget themselves. That one ayah frightened him so much that that everything he did after that, just I don't want to ever forget myself. This is the mission I'm doing. So the idea, his message essentially was that, right, I need to this can't be happening around me. I need to take charge. And so his message of stop looking outside, the answers within, it spoke to his people at the time, but it also spoke to the individual as well. Because what his core concept became, his philosophy is called Khudi. Khudi means selfhood or self-actualization, or and essentially it's the spark within, right? So Khudi for him is the recognition of this spark within you. It's the development of that spark to become your unique, to develop your unique potential into someone who's self-actualized. He calls it Mu'min, which is like the perfect man. So he goes after the Prophet obviously was the perfect man, but how do you get as close to that as possible? The refusal to be diminished by anyone. So no, why should we be inferior complex? We've got so much to give. We've got so much heritage. We've got so much everything. Allah's given us all this, power and uniqueness and everything. How dare anyone try and stop that? Become who Allah created you to be. This is the key. Your job is not acquisition, collecting more from external places. Your job is actually excavation. How can we dig out what you already have inside you? This is his key quote. Be aware of your own worth. Use all of your power to achieve it. Create an ocean from a dewdrop. Do not beg for light from the moon. Obtain it from the spark within you. Essentially what he's saying is that, why do we need to ask the moon for light? You have light within you already. Use that, and make sure you're aware of how worthy you really are. So don't look for outside for approval and permission and credentials. Trust what you already have. Allah is the one who created you. He's put something in you that is powerful, that is unique, that is useful, that's going to serve. What is that? And this is another metaphor that he uses. He said that we were all born to be Shaheen, eagles, but we're living like sparrows, right? The eagle, it soars alone at great heights. It sees beyond the superficial. It's fearless, right? It doesn't fear any resistance. It actually leverages it. It's self-sufficient. It eats what it hunts itself. It doesn't scavenge. It doesn't flock with those that are, lesser. And it lives on a higher level. So I think that's a question of all of us. Are we really living as eagles, or have we forgotten how to fly? So Iqbal's vision was a wake-up call for the ummah, for the individual. He saw a Muslim ummah that had lost its selfhood and confidence. He saw that they were mentally colonized, and physically and mentally. He saw that we were imitating and not innovating, and his call was to rise, to shake the sleeping giant and make it wake up. These are some good quotes from him. It is the nature of the self to manifest itself. So we're supposed to grow and rise, we're not supposed to just play small. The ultimate aim of the ego is not to see something, but to be something. So don't just know about something, actually make it happen. Don't just learn about yourself, become yourself. Be authentic, be real, be aligned. Someone was saying earlier in the comments. So the lessons to learn from Iqbal on self-discovery: the spark is already within. So don't beg for the moon. Don't look outside for validation and identity. Excavate what you already have. You're an eagle, you're not a sparrow. Hudi must be developed. So your job is to fulfill your potential. But it's not something you can do passively. It requires active cultivation and courage to be original. Remember, you need to be something, don't just see something. I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and I found God. I even like this quote: elevate yourself so high that before every decree, God himself asks you, tell me what is your wish. Like I said, that's what he's calling towards, that, play big, like an eagle, fly high. So the question Iqbal is going to ask you, and what you need to write down or think about: what permission have you been waiting for? It might be sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's culture, sometimes it's society, sometimes it's your boss at work. So whose approval are you waiting for? What external validation are you seeking that actually should come from within? So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. How's the mic, by the way? Can everyone still hear me? Okay, good. Okay, so if you've done that, let me see some of the answers. Yeah, family, relatives, friends. Yeah, that's always a common one, because especially if you're of a Asian background, it's always low kiaking. What would people say? And so that prevents us from doing what we're supposed to do. So that's a very common one. Parents, co-workers, yeah, boss, yeah, alignment, 100%. Outside in, yeah, for sure. Alhamdulillah, that's good. Good to hear. Spouse, yes, the spouse is a very difficult one, because obviously you have to work in the same household and stuff. But if you've got different missions and different goals, that becomes very, very challenging. Sure. Okay, so you've seen how important it is to excavate from within. The question for you in 2026 is: do you trust that Allah has made you unique? He's given you exactly what you need. Do you trust what's already within you? Yes or no? Good. Alhamdulillah. Very good. Cool. Okay. The no. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Yeah. So tawakkul. Yeah. I think. Look, Shoaib, I understand. I think that's a very, very good point. And to be honest, this is possible once we develop that muscle of tawakkul and reliance. It's on so many of the conversations I have are about about the word surrender, surrendering. Like, this is why is Islam the meaning of Islam is submission, right? It's encoded within the word itself, right? That's what it wants. We're control freaks, aren't we? We want to control everything, and but logically this might not work, and but no, Allah is the one who's good. All risk comes from Him, or everything comes from Him. So our job is to do what Allah will make it happen, but we just have to do our part. Okay, so I've seen lots of yeses, which is good, perfect. So, how do you now live by this and practice this? So, Iqbal has shown us that the spark is within. So, how do we live from that spark every single day? How do we make our work our worship? So now I'm going to introduce you to Rumi, who is the pioneer of work as worship. So this is all about your mission and full alignment and making your work your worship. So Rumi was 12th century, 1207 to 1273, and I'm sure you've heard of him. So who was Rumi? So before he was famous as a poet, he was actually someone very successful. He was a very successful scholar. He was very prestigious. He came from a very renowned lineage. So his father was also a very celebrated scholar who was known as the Sultan of Scholars, right? So that's his heritage. He was a master of sciences. He trained in all Islamic sciences. And he was actually, again, very successful socially. You know, he had hundreds of students and followers hanging on his every word. But what happened is that he felt a gap because he had knowledge, like book knowledge and all in the mind. He didn't yet feel. He didn't yet feel until he met Shams al-Tabriz, and something in him caught fire. He abandoned his lectures, he stopped teaching law, and he started writing poetry. So this respectable scholar became a poet in search of that love and that passion, that desire and that yearning. And what you see with him, that he didn't just learn about fire, he actually burned himself, for the sake of Allah. So this is why so much of his stuff lives on to this day, because it speaks to human nature. This is all within us, right? We have been given this this feeling because it's what drives you. This is the fuel that drives you. And so what happened with him is that all the poetry, it's not lesser work than the scholarly work that he was doing. He saw it as the same thing. This is my worship. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. These are all his quotes, by the way. He integrated the work that he did and as service to Allah. The prayer. He even said, when I'm with you, everything is prayer. Meaning that if I'm thinking of Allah, everything that I do is in service to Him. It's a prayer for Him. It's because even if you look at the definition of worship is something that occupies the mind and the heart and stuff. So if you have that intention, it's service. And so what this shows us is your work can be worship. It's not separate. So your question is not what you do. It's how you do it and why you do it. These are extremely important. And eventually you can get alignment and integration. But even what you currently do, it might not be fully what you're here for, absolutely, but you can intend with the right intention and feeling, have that belief that, okay, this is I'm doing for Allah's sake. I'm going to do the best of my ability and all that stuff. And eventually, you can, once you discover more about yourself and what you're here to do, then you can start moving more towards it. Okay. So this is a few quotes from him. Everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put into every heart. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. So sometimes, especially in the West, we have to suppress what we really want to do. Oh, look, it doesn't pay the bills. Okay, but the point is that twinge, that yearning that you have, it exists for a reason. And so us suppressing it, all it does is help us die inside quicker, right? There's only so long you can go against the grain. As you start to walk on the way appears. So again, sometimes this stuff logically doesn't make sense, but as you start to walk on the path, things start to move. So it requires some commitment and it requires some belief in you. This pull that he's talking about is your direction. And when that happens, there's no separation. Everything becomes worship. There's no divide between your work and your devotion. every action done with pure intention becomes sacred act. Be wherever you stand, be the soul of that place. Then you realize, okay, this is what I'm bringing to the table. So your job, your business, your craft, everything can be your spiritual path as well. This is a massive disconnect that we have in the West, and why so many people are miserable in what they do and stuff, and why they feel conflicted, why they feel khali, as I keep saying. And so this is good. When you let go of who you are, you become who you might be. So so many of us we believe that, but look, I've worked hard and I've studied this, and this is what I am. This is my identity. But maybe because we're holding on to it so much, we're blind as to what our fitra is. So what Rumi's lesson really is, what he's saying is, what you seek is seeking you, right? Follow your pull. What you love is a clue to your path. That strange pull is guidance, not distraction. Second, the path appears by walking. So don't keep analyzing and overanalyzing, overthinking. Just take small actions. Okay, let me test it. Oh, let me volunteer. Let me do one small thing and then another small thing. Oh, and these are all data points. Everything can be worship. So don't look at. I always talk about the golden age of Islam. Now, one of the key factors of the golden age of Islam is that there was no sacred or secular. Everything was completely aligned. Everything that they did, the science that they did, for the sake of Allah, the invention, everything was for the sake of Allah. That's the point. Your daily work, done with love, is an offering. And so be the soul of your place. Bring devotion and presence to every role you occupy. Be the light wherever you stand. Okay. So, question for you. So, what is the strange pull that you keep ignoring? So, what work do you do that makes time disappear? What would you do even if no one paid? What keeps coming back to you no matter how many times you push it away? So, I'm gonna let you do that. Give you a minute for that. Okay, very good. Creating. That's so creating is good because you know that you're okay. I'm here to make something out of nothing. I'm here to build something, or do you know what mechanism? Is it art? Is it writing? Is it something else? Is it with your hands? So Soraya, immigrants, yeah, alhamdulillah, good. So you know in your case, you know who you're here to serve. You're here to serve immigrants. Now, with what problems? What problems do they have that you can serve them with? Teaching, coaching, teaching. So teaching is an interesting one because again, that is something that we all have a calling towards. Like, we all have within us the desire that, okay, if I've learned something, I should share it. I should share it. I should share it. And that helps you to crystallize the knowledge as well. So I think all of us should teach in some sort of way. But for some people, it is their actual calling. Building. Okay, very good. Reading. Again, so this is all interesting. Right? One of the, I mean, I won't go into too much detail now. One of the articles that I wrote last year, and it's one of my models, I call it the divine clusters model, which is based on the 99 names of Allah. Now, obviously, so Imam Ghazali said something that, look, we're here to manifest Allah's names on earth. So we look at it, so Allah is the creator, He is the healer, and not only is the healer, He is the best healer. He is the most just. He is the most high. And so obviously we can't be that, but we can have an element of it. And so the idea is that if you have that feeling that, oh, actually, maybe part of you is a creator. Some of you might be al alim, the knowledge. Knowledge might be one of your kind of callings. And so often we have two or three of these things. So that could be something worth looking into. Okay, amazing. Some really, really good stuff here. Really good stuff. Mashallah. Taking social improvement. Excellent. So okay, so now you guys have come up with some really good ideas, and which you're excavating, and you're understanding that you're listening to, instead of taking it from external and watching another YouTube video, you're listening to the fitra. So, question for you now is that in 2026, will you follow what's calling you, even if it's a small step? Yes or no? Alhamdulillah. Good. And again, I have this concept that I teach called MVP. MVP in the business world is minimum viable product, right? So we've taken the same concept, but for purpose, minimum viable purpose. What is the smallest thing you can do that is a step in the right direction? That's something worth considering. That okay, this is something that I've been. I mean, here's an example. I know purpose. This is all stuff that's part of my calling, but something that has been calling to me for years and I've kept ignoring has been writing a book. Until this year, I decided finally I'm going to do it. Alhamdulillah, when I did it, it flowed, and it just shows that when you find what that thing is, it won't be hard. It'll be you'll be tested, but it'll flow and feel easy and it'll feel energizing, and these are all signs, good signs. Okay, alhamdulillah. So, oops. Let's now go into so just looking at your message, Anne. Yeah, I think the good thing is that you've identified at least two of them. So it might be that right with the space that you're in life right now, these are the two you can focus on, and they all contribute towards whatever your big thing is eventually. And so right now, this is what you've got the headspace for. The next thing, a third thing could be down the line, and all of them eventually connect. So can you hear me? Hello. Audio still okay, cool. Good. All right. So let's go into Muhammad Ali. So he's the pioneer of mental mastery. So this is his quote: "What you are thinking is what you are becoming." So many people are held back by their thoughts. And he is someone who overcame every obstacle, external and internal, through absolute conviction. So obviously we know his famous quote, "I am the greatest." And he had 1,000,001 quotes that I can't put all in here. But the main point here is that a lot of people, they thought this was ego or was arrogance, but it was actually him believing something, making his mind and body and everything believe in something. He understood that battles were won in the mind before they're won in the ring. So he was defeating not just his opponents, but his own doubts with his words. So if you believe that you're truly the greatest, and nobody, he was 22 years old when he fought Sonny Liston. 22. Sonny Liston was the champion of the world. He was fearsome. Nobody gave him a chance. But before that fight, he kept saying, "I'm the greatest. I can't be beat. I can't be beat. I can't be beat." Like if you have that much conviction in it, your body is going to do things that you're going to push it further than you think you can, because you have so much belief. This is a quote from him: "The fight is won or lost far away from witnesses, behind the lines, in the gym, and out there on the road, long before I dance under the lights." This is about preparation. What are you doing to prepare and get your mind right? And it's not just your mind, your heart right. Get your overcome the obstacles that you need to overcome. So he didn't wait until he was champion to think like a champion. He conditioned himself. He thought like a champion first, and then he created the champion. That's the point. And so he had conviction over comfort. So this is another thing. As I said to you, I was always attracted to these truth-telling people who had principles. He really embodied that. He lost 3 years of his prime because he said, "No, I'm not going to go and fight in Vietnam." And they used that to try and control him, and they stripped him of his title. They said that he could even go to jail, but he said, "Look, I'd rather be in jail standing up for what I believe in than be free and compromising what I believe." And he didn't waver. He just stayed strong. So a lot of people would have said, all his advisors were saying, "Oh, look, just do this and do that." No, I don't care. There's even a famous story where I think 12 of the most famous kind of black athletes at the time, they all took him into a room. They all had the mission to, okay, look, make sure you convince him he's doing, he's going to make life difficult for everyone. And when he came out of the room, all 12 of them actually followed Muhammad Ali's. They said, oh, no, he can't be convinced. And they start following what he was saying as opposed to the other way around. So it just shows how strong he was in his principles, and even if it cost him millions in earnings, and it cost him his popularity as well. But what happened? Of course, what goes down and comes back up again. He returned. He continued to come back at age of 32, again against a fearsome, undefeated fighter, and he won. We all know the famous strategy that he did, and even though everyone said it was impossible, I'm the greatest. I can't be beat, and so he found a way to win. And so the main thing to learn from Muhammad Ali is the power of belief and the power of your mind. The mind is the battlefield. If you win there first, or you lose everywhere. Impossible, just an opinion. So loads of people say to you, "Oh, why are you going to leave your job? You can't do it. Why are you going to do this? Why are you going to do that? You got no credentials." No matter whatever they say, what matters is you believe it. He overcame. Nobody said he could beat Foreman. He did. Nobody said he could do. He could do anything, and he did everything that they said and beyond. Don't accept the world as it is. Explore the power that you have to change it. So in that time that he was off, that's why he said, "I'm gonna travel the world. I'm gonna give dawah." And that's how he became a spokesman. And so these are the main lessons from him. This is very important. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. Now that is very, very profound, because we all have enemies within. Even the Quran even mentions the al-hawa, our nafs, our ego, our desires are all affected. We all have fear of some sort. We all have maybe overthinking or anxiety or trauma, all of these things. But if you can be strong against these enemies and these doubts, then no matter when the world goes against you and the government goes against you, and you can stand strong. This is the point. So, question for you now. What lies have you been believing about yourself? What doubts have you let win without fighting? What impossible have you accepted as fact? And what fight have you forfeited before it began? So these are all questions for you. So I want you to type in the chat now. Just one lie that you need to stop believing about yourself. It could be, I'm too old, I'm not qualified, I've missed my chance, I don't have enough qualifications, I don't, whatever. Amazing. And that's an amazing one. People need to like me. So much we sacrifice for the sake of popularity. And the truth is, people don't care. That's actually the truth. People really don't care. Yeah. And a lot of people, I can see you say, they said, not yet there. The biggest lie is, oh, I will do it later. I will do it. Not the when I'm established, when I'm married, when I'm this. But we have a million different things. That's convincing ourselves, because we have this thing within us, cognitive dissonance, where we don't like not being congruent with our identity and so we convince ourselves, and that's what allows us to get away. Yeah, the qualifications are a massive one. And again, the qualifications are like, again, I don't want to start another rant, but that is often a huge one from in the West, because everything is credentialism and, oh no, you can't do this and you can't do it. Again, Malcolm X shows self-education, and back in the day, people were expert in medicines and homeschooling and all sorts of things, just through self-study and experimentation. And this is a lot of this stuff is big money. Oh no. Okay. So essay. I'm really, really sorry about that. I will make sure that you get the audio for sure. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you now then, in 2026, are you ready to stop believing the lies? Yes or no? Okay, excellent. Good. Perfect. How are we tracking for time? So we're about an hour or so in. Okay, awesome. So let's go into Imam Ghazali. So from obstacles to execution. So he is the pioneer of execution. So Imam Ghazali, very famous scholar, 1058 to 1111, and he's all about how knowledge becomes transformation through implementation, all action execution. So let's talk about his story. So by the mid 30s, he had reached the absolute heights of success. Mashallah. Um, so he was a professor at the Nizamiya, the most prestigious academic chair in Baghdad. Basically, the Harvard of the Islamic world. He was the professor there. He was an advisor to the Sultan. He was an author. He wrote lots of books. He had global fame. So hundreds of students hung on to his every word. So he had prestige, he had power, he had platform, he had everything. What more do you want? And so, but it was destroying him. It was destroying him. What happened? Why was it destroying him when he achieved so much? He realized that I'm teaching about God without being close to God, right? And just that guilt or that anxiety, that just did something to him where he developed a psychosomatic illness. He actually couldn't eat, he couldn't speak, his body was forcing him to stop. And so that gap between knowledge and doing, it was destroying him. And this is what he said. He said, I examined my motive in my work of teaching and realized that it was not a pure desire for the things of God, but that the impulse moving me was the desire for an influential position and public recognition. So that's just worth pondering on. That look, how many of us we do things sometimes for okay, this will give us status, this will give us a promotion at work, this will do. The intention's not quite right, and it's not quite authentic. This is why authenticity is so important in this journey of purpose. So this is what happened to Imam Ghazali, that he had achieved everything, and yet his intention was a little bit crooked. And so what happened was that public fame led to a private collapse. He walked away. At the height of his fame, he left Baghdad, and he told people, I'm going on Hajj, but actually he ran away, and he stayed away for 10 years. And what he was running away from was a contradiction between what he taught and who he was. Remember, we talked about alignment and integrity between who you are and what you're here to do. So this is what he was running away from. So 10 years of wandering. He went to Damascus, he went to Jerusalem, he went to Hebron. He actually did go to Makkah, Medina, and then he went back to his hometown and transformed. And the reason he gave up everything was that he was trying to find what knowledge alone couldn't give him. He said, I need to figure this out. And this is what he discovered. He said that I apprehended clearly that the mystics were men who had real experiences. They were not men of words. So the people he wanted to be were those who had real experience, not just theory. And so that's the realization that, look, knowledge about God is one thing, but experience of God is another thing entirely. And so the key was not more knowledge, it was action, execution, implementation. So don't think your way, live your way. What happened then? He basically then came back man possessed, re energized, recharged, and that's when he sat and wrote his masterpiece, Ulumuddin, 40 books that covered every aspect of life and spirituality. And so basically, the idea behind this book is that it's not theory, it's not debates, it's a manual for living. It bridged the gap between outward law and inner spirituality. So, what do we learn from Ghazali? Information is not transformation, implementation is. Knowledge, this is his famous quote, knowledge without action is vanity, and action without knowledge is insanity. Second thing, your time is your capital. Your time is your life, Buy it, you make your trade, and reach eternal bounties. So again, use your time wisely. So much of it is doom scroll, waste time. This is it. Time is limited, and each breath is time running out. And that's, which is the next one. Every single breath of yours is a priceless jewel because it's irreplaceable. And you can't think your way to transformation. You have to live it. So I love this quote. Even if you studied for 100 years and collected 1,000 books, you would not be eligible for the mercy of God except through action. So this is the question for you. What do you already know that you're not doing? So what's not something that you need to learn and then do? What do you already know but you haven't actually done yet or haven't put into place? So it might be a conversation you've been avoiding, a habit you keep postponing, the decision you've been sitting on. So what is that? Waking up early, very good. Forgiveness, oh, that's deep. Yeah, that's very deep. Seeing the present, yeah, that's another really important one. What else? Let's give me some more things that you know that. Yeah, so I assume you mean stop scrolling, right? Very good. I think with like leaving the corporate job, that is something that okay, for me to take the next level, I need to do that eventually. But obviously, there might be bigger reasons why you haven't been able to put that in place yet because you need to have a certain amount of savings, and that's not as simple as okay, I just need to take action on it. But the step one of that process you could certainly start doing, which is the research or to put money aside, etc. Relying on people, good. Getting started, business, yeah, business is a big one. But I think it's really good that we're having this conversation today, the 1st of January. Whether it's the Islamic year or not, I think it's a reset in our minds that okay, we've got a whole year ahead of us. What does what can we do more of this year? Okay, good. Change your career. Yeah, there's a lot of people actually. Actually, the thing is, like, what you realize, especially when you're in the business world, ideas are overrated. Even though, like, so if you can marry up your ideas with action execution, like you're unstoppable. But that's why the person who has more action will be more successful often than the person who's a great thinker. And that's actually one of my biggest kind of challenges as well, because I do like to think and all that stuff, but um, the last and my execution, I execute a lot, but it's slow. Some people execute very fast, and you get more data points and all that stuff. So okay, very good. So these are all really really good. Taking better care of our body. That's 100% one for me this year, inshallah. Very good. Yeah, consistency, amazing. So I'm really really happy with the answers that you guys are coming with. It shows that you're really like thinking and making it relevant for yourselves. So the question then is, in 2026, now that you're aware of this, will you finally act on it? Yes or no? Yes, inshallah, inshallah. Good, excellent. Let me get a couple more. Yep, good, good. All right. So we've gone through the 5 guides. Did you notice anything at all? What's the pattern between them all? They're all from different worlds, different paths, different centuries, but they're not random. This is what they all have in common. They all started from very unexpected places. So some, prison or crisis or confusion or guilt or there's some broken beginnings at the start. They went through a profound transformation. They became completely different people. There was an identity shift. they found a unique contribution. They weren't copying anyone else. They were authentically themselves. They faced a massive resistance. They had to overcome, Muhammad Ali's case, the world being against them. Malcolm X's case, they had to overcome prison and betrayal and all these things. But they overcame it. And then they executed it relentlessly. They were prolific. They just, that's why, like I said, Rumi is still the most read poet in America today, 700 years later. But it's just because there's so much work that he produced. Same with again, Malcolm X. He lived a very short life, but very, very busy, always doing speeches. There's so much material available. Yeah, the struggle for eternity. Yeah, exactly. Clarity, unapologetic for it. Exactly. That's the point. If you knew for sure, you're convinced this is exactly what I'm here for. Even if people say to you, "Oh no, you can't do it," you're not going to believe them. I don't care what people think. I'm doing this. That's the point. The point is we don't actually take the time to find that one thing that unlocks everything. This is the key. This is absolutely the key. And so this is the point. They didn't just stumble. It's purpose, not something that you find accidentally. It's purposeful, right? It's for a reason. They actually walked into it. They were unhappy with, even though they had success. Ghazali had massive success. Rumi had massive success. Ali had they were successful, but it was not enough for who they were and what they were going to become. They took steps towards it. So we went over the data at the start. 58% had clarity, and 17% are actually living it. What we realized is that it's not a knowledge problem; it's an implementation problem. Yeah, and this is we can see this 41% drop, and so this is the last exercise I want you guys to do. Of these 5 questions, I want you to score yourself 1 to 5 of all these things. The first question is purpose. I know why I am here. If you know for sure that, if you don't know at all, that's a 1. If you know 100% exactly clear with clarity, that's a 5. So that's the first thing you can. Then the second question that you have is, I know what I am capable of. So your potential, what you have inside you. Again, 1 to 5. The third thing that I want you to score yourself on is, I know what my mission is and what I'm working on daily, or how to live this daily. And 1 to 5. The fourth thing is, I know what is blocking me. I know what is my obstacles, the thing that is preventing me from moving forward. So 1 to 5. And then the fifth one is, I'm executing on this daily. So I know exactly how I'm executing on it, and I've got systems to be able to do that. So what area is your, you can write that on your notepad, and what you can then do is put whichever one was the lowest. It could be path or problems, or whichever one is the lowest. Maybe you can put that in the chat. Let's see. Process, yeah. So I'm kind of I'm smiling to myself, not because I'm happy that you're struggling with it, but that's exactly what the data actually showed us, that no one has a system or a roadmap or things like that to get them moving. Okay, very good. Any more? Okay, excellent. So whichever one you answered, this is your guide for 2026. So it's not who you admire the most. You might really be inspired by Malcolm X's story, but if you're not struggling with that part, then that's fine. You've ticked that one off. Then So if it is systems or processes and stuff that an action you're struggling with, then it's the Imam Ghazali principle that you need to follow. So what I want you to do then is to type in your guide's name for 2026. Very good. Yeah, amazing. So I can see a mixture actually. Muhammad Ali, Ghazali, Iqbal, Malcolm X. Everyone's mentioned except Rumi. So I assume everyone knows. Oh, there you go, Rumi. Perfect. We had the full set mentioned. Very good. So what each of these 5 tell us is a different thing. Malcolm X tells us that, look, transformation, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've been through, is 100% possible. You just believe. Iqbal, he tells us that, look, the spark is within you, explore it, extract it, and live it. Rumi tells us that, look, your work can be worship, be intentional, figure out what your exact mission is, and live by it. Muhammad Ali tells us that, look, you need to overcome your obstacles, overcome your mind, overcome the enemies within, and you'll be able to conquer the enemies outside. And Imam Ghazali tells us that it's not about what you know, it's about what you do. So your knowledge requires action. And what each of these guides do is that they actually shows the complete path from purpose to process. This is the journey that it works. So Malcolm X, he tells you about transformation, and because why does transformation come first? Is because if you didn't believe it's possible, you're going to sabotage yourself. You have to be able to believe in something higher, and that we're created for something bigger than just living and just being here. We're actually created for something bigger and greater, and if we unlock that, we can actually achieve our potential. And so that's belief is vital at the first stage. And so once you understand, okay, this is what's possible, then I'm going to go on the journey. Now I need to go and self-discover. I need to understand what gifts Allah's given me. What are the materials I've got to work with? Because therein lies the clues. So once you figure that, you figure how it all connects, the golden thread, you then, okay, right, this is what I'm good at. Then you understand, okay, where does it all go towards? What is the ultimate mission? That's what Rumi does. He helps you align that with your work, with your worship. This is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. Okay, I've got complete clarity now. Now that you've got clarity, that's when you're going to suffer your doubts. You're going to have the enemies, and you're going to have people who are going to question you. And, oh, well, why are you doing something different? Why are you not doing what we're doing? Why are you trying to be someone different? And why are you going to, they're going to put doubts on you and questions on you, and you're going to have, because you're doing something new, you're going to be unsure of yourself. So this is why Ali is all about conquering the mind, so you actually achieve what you need to achieve. And then it's about Ghazali. Okay, right, I've overcome my enemy and obstacles, and I'm ready to just do. That's the journey, essentially. And the truth of it is that, look, you're alhamdulillah, I'm really happy with how you guys have engaged today, and the chat's been lively and stuff like that. And obviously, hopefully, it's been inspiring. But that often fades. It's 1st of January, we're all excited and stuff. But by next week, either next week or the week after, it's going to be Blue Monday. I think it's the 3rd Monday of January, where everyone's depressed and down and stuff. That's when normality kicks in. And so what's really important in these times is a map. So you need a system of some sort. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, that all of this stuff is a system. This is what devoted the last 4 years of my life to building this entire system. These guides who have helped along the way, and frameworks that help us to take these mini transformations for us to go, as I said, from Khali to Khalifa, or from lost to leader, or however you want to say it, from problems to purpose. What happens in this first stage is the Malcolm X stage. where you gain meaning for the world through this framework, which you understand what everything means. Why does Allah ask us to worship Him? Why does He ask us, to, why is unity so important in Islam? Why do you talk about justice so much? Why is resilience so important, etc., etc.? You understand how everything connects, and because this is the problem sometimes in mosques. We're told, do this, do that. Why? Oh, because the Quran said so. Oh, because it says in the Hadith. Okay, but that does not speak to that conviction, the belief that we have. Why do we do all these things? Well, you realize how it all connects. Stage 2. How do you excavate? How do you understand your true self? Well, you need to study yourself from different angles to understand what you're spiritually inclined towards, understand your personality types, understand your natural abilities, understand what you're passionate about, understand the knowledge that you've been given, understand your life story. We talked about the heroes. What about your other significant moments in your life? What about your natural intelligences? So some people are naturally good in languages. Some people are naturally good in logic and numbers. Some people are naturally good in personal, interpersonal skills, etc. That's something that might say something about you. What about your temperaments? That's your nature. Some people have a very fiery nature. Some people are very passive nature. What does that mean? So the idea is that these are all data points that we can then use to extract, and then they start repeating. The patterns start showing, and okay, that connects with this. And so you start seeing things, and this is where we can then utilize that to go into stage 3, which is know your path. How can I use all of this stuff to figure out my overall mission? Who am I here to serve? What's my spark? What work will I be doing? How do I monetize it? That's what happens in stage 3. Then in stage 4, we go over the Dushman framework. The Dushman stands for Dunya, DU, SH Shaitan, Mindset, Al Hawa, Nafs, right? And each of these has many frameworks, mental models to help you overcome certain challenges. So if you're going through some past trauma that you're struggling to go over, we have the Yusuf framework. If you're struggling with fear and anxiety, we have the Musa framework. But we have all of these different things designed to snap you back into what you need to do and help you overcome. And the final thing is how do you systemize all of this stuff? So first of all, we take this is called the DAWAS framework, where you have a direction. You understand where you're going 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, reverse engineer it. Then we add urgency. How do you add internal urgency, external urgency? Then we break it down into micro actions. And then we give you 8 different systems. What's your self-care system? How do you recharge and re-energize? What's your time management system? What's your support system, etc., etc. That's all doors. How are you going to stay on the path? This is essentially the model that we've created to help people go from completely lost and confused to actually doing amazing, purposeful work. Mashallah. So this is the full roadmap, as I said, go to take you from confusion to clarity, and what we install along the way. And there's a lot, obviously, I covered a lot. I really appreciate your patience. We're nearly at that 90-minute time limit, but I didn't cover the exact, detail of the frameworks, how they all work. I mentioned divine clusters earlier. How does that work for you? How do you execute on how do you implement these systems in your life? How does coaching work? Because obviously you're not just given the frameworks and then go off and do them. You're supported through them. How does the community work? What about there's like 40 different frameworks that we've built. Again, from not just taking Western concepts and Islamifying, but actually from the Quran or from the Hadith or from our heritage, and create them because there was a gap. We needed them. And we've also got a GPT that we've trained on a lot of these models. So when you're thinking, what's my mission statement? Well, actually, the GPT can help you because you put in all your data. So alhamdulillah, we've gone very, very deep in trying to create a proper solution on this. And this is obviously what the pioneers have proved, that, look, you can transform. You have got a spark within you. Your work can be a worship. You can overcome and master your mind. And the execution beats your knowledge. And all you need this roadmap that you can follow. So what this program, it's a 40-day program, but we support you with it for an entire year, because and this is why we want you to commit to the process. If this is something that you think, okay, yeah, you know what, this is exactly what I need for this year, and it'll transform your life, inshallah. So what I've done is, normally we charge £2,000 for this. And if you go into the school and you go into plans, you'll see how much it costs. Because you're on the webinar, this is the first time ever running this workshop on school, and actually ever, and I mean an offer like this. Until Sunday, you're able to get it for this price. So Asher, if you could just put the link in the chat, if it's something that you're interested in, then by all means, I'd love to have you on board. I'd love to take you through the process, and inshallah, make this the year of purpose, inshallah. So just to summarize, this is everything that obviously you would get. Obviously, you get direct access to myself as well, but everything that we've done is we've made it executable and actionable. So there's worksheets and exercises for everything. And so that, like I said, if it's something that you're ready to do, then you said a lot of yeses today. Maybe this is the final yes that you need to say to come on board. And like I said, if it's something that not right now, or you want to think about, then by all means, there's no pressure at all. You know where I am, you know what we do, and if it's something that has resonated with you, it's stirred your soul, because that's what we want to do, and that's what it should do. If it's then we know how to come on board. So that's the end of the presentation. But I'm happy to take a few questions if you'd like, about the program, or even anything else as well. So yeah, Bismillah. Let me get off my camera on. So is there a payment plan? So inshallah, yeah, we can arrange one for you. We can arrange one for you. So if you DM us or send us an email, then you can then we can work with Usher, and we can arrange that for you, inshallah. I think that if you go into that link, there's an FAQ. I think there's a link on how to do the payment plan. Okay, so exactly, everyone, I really appreciate your attendance. Obviously, I'd love some feedback as well, because it's the first time we're running this kind of workshop. We're planning this year actually to do a lot more of these kind of workshops. I've got loads of content I've been building, and I want to just share now. I want to just share, get it out and stuff. So yeah, let me know if there's any particular areas that you would like me to cover in future workshops. And also is what you thought about this one. What I would love is, I would love also for you to join. Obviously, you're in our community now. You're in Noah's. Go through the phase 1 or phase 0 and the other things. Go through that, because like I said, I want us to have a community where we're all on this journey together. And like I said, whether you're part of the program, whether you're a free member, it's not a problem. Like I said, we want to be around like-minded people who aspire and are going towards this journey, inshallah. So please contribute, please be active. We're in there on a daily basis and stuff, so we would love to help you out and support. Yes. So how the coaching part of it works, is that every week, every Wednesday, we run it's like a mastermind session, you'd say. So everyone who's on the program, they come on board, and it's group coaching. So no matter where you are, if you're on stage 1 or stage 2, you can come in, you ask your questions, and yeah, I'm there, and there's no real time limits. So if your question takes 5 minutes, it takes 5 minutes. If it takes half an hour, it takes half an hour. We just give you the time to get you unstuck and hold you accountable. Exactly, and really appreciate your kind words. I appreciate your attendance. So yeah, Bakar, I just saw your the message. So yeah, it is on school. So in the community that you're in now, that's actually where it all is. So with this workshop being hosted, that's where it all is. So we have got if you just wanted phase one alone, then we have got a monthly membership for that. But the reason we've got an annual price for the whole program is because this is not something just to start and then stop halfway through. It's designed to get that full commitment. So once you've paid for something, you got skin in the game. You're like, okay, right, I'm going to do this. That's the kind of what we're going to do. So it's kind of been done by design. So any other? Zach, I appreciate that. I mean. So one thing to mention is that so this price is only until Sunday, and it'll never be done again. And again, I just want to mention that because one of the things that I've actively done is that I don't really believe in that whole fixed scarcity thing. And my plan going forward is to sell the program using through these workshops. So I want to add massive value, and people can make their own decisions. I don't want to be on sales calls or anything like that going forward. So yeah, but the reason I priced it like this is just because it's the first workshop that we've done and start the year, just to get a little bit of momentum and people to take action. Okay. So I'm happy to take some non program questions as well, if you have any. And then otherwise we'll close in the next 2-3 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah, that was. I'm wondering. So, okay, I'll just answer Suraya's then according to yours, Anne. So, is the course for someone studying to be a coach? So, it can be. I think the main, what the course or the program is about is if your calling is to become a coach, then this will obviously give you what you need because it'll tell you with conviction that, yes, this is exactly what you're here for. And so, when you go on that path, you will have resilience. You will overcome all the obstacles in your way because you have that certainty that this is what you're here to do. But if you want to become a purpose coach, or like I said, there's lots of materials within here. This is like years and years of my study all incorporated. So there's that aspect of it as well. It depends what kind of coach. I mean, like my other business, Muslim CEO, actually helps people who want to become coaches and things like that. So like I can help you if you're on my coaching calls for this. I can give you that advice as well if that was what you wanted to become, for sure. So Anne, an example of losing purpose and regaining it. I think this is. I'm trying to think of how to answer this because the main example I can give you is that all of us have had purpose and we lost it because we were all children once, and children are on fitra. They're on their purpose. They're actually on purpose, right? And then what happens is that school kicks in, and society kicks in, and media kicks in, and all of these things, and because school is not set up to help that individual to discover what they're here to do. They put them down pathways like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, and it's all job based. It's not. I think the way to look at it is they put your role at the center, whereas in Islam we put identity at the center. Right? We put identity at the center, who you are, and who are you when you're not a doctor. Right? In the West, most people's job is the identity. Whereas in our heritage, we have an identity beyond what we do. Like we might be have that healer thing in us, and so therefore, if we lost our job as a doctor, we could still think, "Oh no, well, I'm still a healer. I could still do other things." It wouldn't be the collapse of our world. That's the thing. So this is why part of this whole second golden age thing that I talk about. It's not just macro. It's not just, oh yeah, our civilization is going to go through a second golden age. It's also micro, because once upon a time we were in our golden age. Our golden age was when we were children. We came home, we fell over, we got up again. We went to school excited. We wanted to learn and curious. That's what an actualized person is. They fall down, they get up again. They hungry to learn. They keep growing and growing and growing. This is what it is. And we lose. So part of this, when we talk about realignment, is realignment towards fitra. So I think I've gone around the houses a little bit. I'm not sure I've answered that question, but I'm trying to think of someone off the top of my head that lost purpose and then regained it. Let me come back to you on that. Maybe I've got you on LinkedIn, so inshallah I'll come back to you. Okay, so I think there's no more sort of questions or anything. So inshallah, I'll end it there. But I just want to say jazakallah everyone for, like I said, I really appreciate your involvement, your engagement, the support, and yeah, just showing up. Because on New Year's Day, you could have been doing anything, and you're here with me. So I appreciate that. So jazakallah, and look forward to seeing you either inside the community or even better inside the program. So appreciate that. Sarah, thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, wow. Exactly. That's really, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm grateful that you're here too. So yeah, this one, like I said, if you've got any follow-up questions, I'm happy for you to message in school and tag me, and I'll respond. Inshallah. Perfect. Okay, exactly, everyone. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.